Okay, and we're back. Let's press play again. Okay, so this is looking good. I can turn him around. However, he's not going into a walk cycle when I turn him around, and that's the next goal. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we have this scene tab, but we also have this animator tab, and I've got this whole thing set up in here. However, I'm going to delete this and start over again so that you guys can see how we do it. Alright? So I've grabbed this drag and walk from my project animation. I have an idle, a jump, and a walk. So now I'm going to take this walk cycle right here, and I'm going to right click on my drag and idle. And by the way, to move around here, I'm holding down Alt and middle mouse buttoning. So from entry, I go right into drag and idle. I want to go into drag and walk whenever I push the move arrow. So that's going to take just a couple little things in here in this animator, and then about 3 lines of code in the code editor. So let's get started. I right click here and make transition over it. So I can move this around now. I'm just going to click on this drag and walk here, and then I'm going to right click and make transition back. So now I have a both ways transition. I set up this variable here. I'm going to delete it and start over again. List is empty. So a parameter I'm going to set up is called move speed, and I'm going to make it a float. You guys remember what float means? Not an integer. It's something with a decimal point value. So I'll go ahead and create that variable, move speed. It's important that I keep the name the same in code as I name it here, because we're going to be referencing this parameter that we just set up. Okay, so now I'm going to click on this button here, and I see how I have this drag and walk start way over here. I'm going to actually drag this over here. So I don't want that super long transition in between the two. I'm going to drag this right over here. If I drag it too far, I'll get like this duplicated thing, but I'm going to drag it to right there. Then this is the transition time from one cycle to the other. So I'm going to move this over and shorten it quite a bit. I want it to be a really quick animation cycle, and then I'm going to click on this one up here and do the same thing. See, if I move it over too far, I get it doubling. I don't want that. I'm just going to move it over to there and move this over to here. If this isn't quite making sense, let me explain. I have this drag and walk and this drag and idle, and when I hit the button, I want it to go really quickly into the other animation, and that's why I'm moving it around like that. Okay, so I've got that. Now I need to let it know a condition when it's going to go into this other cycle, and so I'm going to hit add here. It's automatically going to grab move speed, and that's good. So I want it to go back. So I'm on this one right here, this transition back into idle. When am I going to want it to transition back into idle from the walk? Well, when move speed is less than 0.01. So I have to use a float here, and you will too. Okay, and then I'll go back to this one, and I want it to move from idle to walk when condition is, I'll hit this plus arrow, move speed is greater than 0.01. Okay, now nothing will happen if I hit play here. I'll go ahead and hit save though. Nothing's going to change here until I go into code, and I'll prove it. We'll go back into the game, and you can see our character does not go into the walk cycle at all because I need to set up a few things in code. So I'm going to go over to code and do a couple quick things. Number one, I need to set up the variable for the animator. So I'll go ahead and do that right here. Animator my anim. That's grabbing the animator game object. Then in start, I will go ahead and assign a value to my anim. My anim is equal to get component animator. Perfect. And now we'll go into update. I will go ahead and my anim dot set float Remember I said remember that variable, move speed. So I'm referencing that variable in this function that's already been set up for me, set float. So it's going to set this move speed to math floor.absolute move. Okay, and that's it. I understand that this isn't going to make a ton of sense, but just think about us setting this variable here with this function. What it does is it takes that that math speed that we have and it sets a floor to it. Watch what it does in game though. Okay, so now I'm going to hit play. Okay, so you can see we're getting a compiler error here. We'll go ahead and look at it. This is good for us because compiler errors happen, and it's great to be able to troubleshoot it. It's probably a simple one here. It looks like it's just a syntax error. It's expecting a parentheses instead of this semicolon here. And we can see it's on line 46. So I'm going to go back into code. Line 46. I'm sorry, line 37. As you can see here, it's on line 37. So we'll go back into code. Look at line 37. And you can see here that I forgot an extra parentheses at the end here. So that should solve it. Go ahead and save that. Go back to your code. Or sorry, go back to your Unity. Here we are in game. And when I move, I do get that walk cycle, but it's coming late. Watch, I'll stop, walk cycle stops. Then I'll move, then the walk cycle stops. So obviously we have a timing thing here that's bad. Let's see if we can't go figure out what the problem is. I'll go into Animator, and I will click on this. And then see this has exit time. I want to get rid of that. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that. Has exit time. I believe that will fix our problem. So let's go ahead and save. Go back into the game. Okay, so now I'm getting to go right into the walk cycle. So perfect. Now I have this walk cycle playing, and all it took was 3 lines of code. I know some of that code doesn't make sense. I'm not going to get into the math and logic of it right now. If some of you guys have questions, though, be more than happy to help you. This tutorial has already taken a while. So with that, the next thing we're going to do is go to our jump cycle. So I'm super excited. I will see you there.